here with William Brown. He is the Libertarian candidate for Assembly District 32 in that special election. But really, Libertarian is just the political party. You're really here to win over voters from all over the place.
This is true. You know, being a Libertarian, I understand that it's different, and that's exactly what I wanted to be here for. To be able to represent for those who, may not uniquely identify as Democrat or Republican, but instead for those who are looking for common sense and trying to do our best to remove as much government influence in our daily lives as humanly possible. So it's a pleasure to be here. I understand that, again, I got a little bit of ways to work with some of our viewers and constituents to understand, some of the challenges and what the Libertarian Party or myself can do for you. But it's a wonderful time to be here.
And even though there's that label next to your name, you're also something that maybe a lot of people do identify with, a Marine veteran, and then of course too a social worker.
Yes, I spent 13 years in the Marine Corps. Most of my time was down in Marine Corps Air Station Miramar, and that's actually ultimately what brought me to California and got me to fall in love with being a Californian and the wonderful things that California has to offer. And once I exited the military, I decided to continue my school efforts, became a social worker, currently work at the prison up here in Corcoran. And it's been a very unique challenge, but it's one that's truly enjoyable because you can sit back and use a lot of the things that the military has taught you, especially in terms of problem solving. And as a social worker, our entire job is really built on trying to identify barriers and how to overcome them. And I think those really translate into the political arena to how we can work together to solve problems.
Yeah, and what are some of the biggest challenges that you say, okay, these are the biggest barriers that I want to be tackling if I were to be so elected to the state assembly?
Sure. Overtaxation is one thing that is just hugely important to me, and the other is government overreach. As an example, one of the things that truly drove me to want to be a part of this election was AB 5. It's one of those laws that was created in good faith to try to protect workers. However, at the same time, it also impacts a lot of our independent contractors. And I felt a lot of the stress that comes along with that because I was actually put in a space to where I couldn't be an independent contractor like I wanted. I think it's very ironic here in California that, in today's society, you can be whoever you want. You can identify however you want. You can do a lot of things in your personal life, and I love that. However, when it comes to identifying as a contractor, the government throws a lot of barriers in your way, and it's not for my benefit, it's for somebody else's, and I don't think that's fair. And so I think the overregulation comes into a lot of the areas within California, and some of the problems that we have are really due to us as the legislative body doing way too much. We do need to pull back, and so taxation and government overregulation are two of the biggest things for me.
And I know another one too has been just the amount of money that California spends as well.
Certainly, we spend so much money, and at the end of the day, we're already over budget, and so we're creating a deficit. Being able to roll back, try to find where are the areas that we're being truly deficient in terms of being fiscally conservative. How can we roll back and allow the people to keep their money in their pockets? Because I truly believe that we as a people know how to spend our money much better in our communities and can do so much better rather than allowing Sacramento to control. I don't look at things as a left or a right situation. It's truly a top versus bottom, and I understand that should I be blessed enough to be the candidate to move forward, I understand that it'd be 79-1, but I'm willing to work with everyone as long as we're ensuring that we're taking care of everyone's individual and economic freedoms and preventing government overreach. If we can do those two things, hey, I'll work with anybody. But that is certainly an area I want to understand how we can reduce the amount of spending so that we're not wasting our taxpayers' money. I won't be one of those libertarians who says that all taxation is theft. I get it. However, I also want everyone to understand is that we don't need to pay so much in taxes. We can do so much more if we were able to control some of our own money and put it into our individual communities. So I get it. I just want us to be very, responsible in our taxation, because when we are spending other people's money and not being conservative with it and wasting it, that is theft, and I don't want to stand for that.
And I know that sometimes when people say you need someone who's going to be able to work across the aisle, in this case, I know it's a unique position being the one person of a particular party that would be in the state assembly, but you came in here, you talked about such a positive attitude about your other candidates in the race that are Republicans and that are Democrats. Can you talk about that? I guess it seems like an optimism of being able to work with people as opposed to saying, hey, this is maybe a negative situation where I can't reach across the aisle. Right. Can you talk about your outlook a little bit?
Sure. I've never been the type to say, hey, let's not vote for this person. Let's not work with this person. You know, I think everybody, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, whether you're a Libertarian, Independent, we all want the same thing. And that's ultimately what's best for the people of California. And if we think on the federal level, what's best for everyone as an American. And so being able to look past the, you know, the identifiers or the letter that's beside your name and understanding where each candidate has or can contribute and can be that voice that we want. I think far too often, you know, we look at things in terms of what's the letter that's there. You know, if we sit back and look at the most recent elections, you know, it was, you know, Trump versus Harris. We totally skipped out on the fact that there was Chase Oliver that was there too as a Libertarian candidate. We kind of look past a lot of those things. It's not necessary. We don't have to put on the red or the blue glasses. There are other options. But in terms of when we're working with people across the aisle, why not reach across? Why not understand the areas that we have in common? Because we have a whole lot more in common than we disagree. But a lot of times we focus on the disagreements so that, you know, we can say, this is what they're doing, this is what we're doing. We can work together. I just think it takes an additional, you know, viewpoint to look at things. It's not, we don't have to just look from one side to the other. There's another view to see. Let's not explore all options. And specifically with the other candidates, I mean, you bring a lot of different types of unique backgrounds, where you has Mr. Ellis is, you know, a business owner and very well known. A lot of the Republican establishment has backed him. I think that's amazing. I don't think that's anything to look down upon. I think that's great. You have Dr. Cruz Boone and both Ms. Holly Ellis are both, you know, or excuse me, Holly, what's her last name? Oh my goodness. Willoughby. Dang it, sorry about that. You know, I think they're both educators, and that's absolutely amazing. And then you have myself, I'm a social worker and veteran. I think we all bring many types of perspectives on things. And even to sit here, you know, with you to be able to have a conversation and explore, I think that's the most important thing. And the other reason why I wanted to be in this race again is right there in the present, in terms of, okay, now that we have choice, this is a true democratic process. Rather than it just being two parties, now we have choice and you have multiple candidates in the parties. I think it's a wonderful opportunity.
And Dr. Cruz Boone talked about how important it is for her daughter who's going to get a chance to vote in this upcoming election. I know you have a child as well. How important is that, I think, thinking about their future too, especially that of the young parent?
Certainly. My children are a little bit younger. My oldest is 13 and my youngest is 9. Again, she's going on at least 21 right now. To be able to run for office, I think my youngest still has absolutely no clue, despite the fact that I'm trying to explain to her what that is. You know, to be a part of this process and try to set California up for success, I think that's the most important thing. Let's be honest. We're all not going to be here, but we want to give our children a step forward or to be better off than we were right now. Right now, we're currently facing a deficit on several areas. We need to correct that. I don't want this same level of deficit to fall back on my children so that they have to continue to pay and pay even more taxation, because recently the best way for us to fix deficits is by taxing the people more. I find that highly unacceptable, and we have to do better in that. And so for me to be able to be here to represent, possibly to move forward, if I'm blessed with that opportunity, to be able to set the standard and help, you know, correct some of the deficiencies in our past to set our children up for success, I think that would be absolutely amazing to do.
And just a few of the topical issues, maybe starting with water. I know water has been a big political talking point, which you wouldn't normally think it would be, but now it is, especially with the recent fires that have happened down in Southern California. And of course, for farmers out in this area for some time, of course, more water, the better for them, and access to it as well. Are you in favor of expanding certain dams and reservoirs that are in the state, or increasing outflows through rivers to local farmers in this area, and perhaps even working on things like desalinization of the Pacific Ocean?
Right. Now, I do know that in the process of desalinization, I think that's really exuberantly expensive. And so I'm not sure that may be the best option for California, but I think we should certainly keep all options open. In terms of reservoirs, this does seem like a viable option that's there, rather than allowing the water just to flow to the end of the stream and then dump it into the ocean. I don't think that's a solid way to go about this. It is very clear and evident within our district that we do need more water. And so to find those ideas and to explore and to hear the science behind it. I mean, as somebody who values education, to hear the science behind it and what is it going to cost. How can we navigate this? Do we need private equity into this also, rather than strictly relying on funds or trying to take money again away from the taxpayers. What can we do to allow more water to be stored, to refresh our aquifers, to have more readily available for our farmers? Ultimately, that's going to be something that needs to be discussed right now, because these projects take significantly a long time to do so. So I am certainly in favor of exploring. I want to know the cost behind all of these and how we can navigate it together effectively. Because again, we want to do things together rather than just saying, all right, well, let's just raise taxes on the rich a little bit more. It's not fair. So let's just find ways collectively so that we can do what's best for all. And so I am certainly in favor of water storage ideas and solutions to try to help our local valley.
I think, is it fair to say that a lot of the things that you're looking at are through the price tag perspective first and then seeing what kind of comes from it?
I think there has to be a balance of both. Without a doubt, things cost money. We have to have that. And so to be able to explore and to have that balance, I think that is truly what we need to do, rather than just saying, yes, let's go. If we look at California's most recent example of trying to, control the insulin industry and trying to bring in, in the process, that was a $30 million venture that has yet to produce, and we haven't even gotten off the ground with it. And so I think there are many things that we need to do, but I think it requires a balance between the two. Certainly, I don't want to take any money away from our taxpayers. I actually would love to reduce the amount of taxation. However, if we can come to a good understanding of where our deficient areas are, and with the understanding that most projects that the state takes on will cost more than they really ever mention. So I think there has to be a balance between the two so that we can find the best solution for all.
And now Chevron's closing down their headquarters here. They've moved to Texas, and you have, of course, another refinery that will be closing in California as well. Are you someone who's more for more drilling in the state and more oil production in the state, or someone who's looking to kind of see that off?
I think the industry should, the consumers should be the one who has really control on whether or not we should be moving away from oil. For example, I have an electric car. It's not because I'm trying to be the most environmentally friendly person in the world, although back in the day I was a Captain Planeteer honorary, so I was happy about that. But it was the best that was for me financially. I can't say that for everybody. And I even have a gas-powered Jeep. I am all for having that balance. And so if we look at oil production in general, we're importing way more than we're drilling. I don't think that's okay, because we're bringing in oil from countries probably with worse or environmental standards than we have right here. And are we really doing anything beneficial for our environment? I would probably say not so much. And you have even I'm trying to think of what number it is. We put out so many laws. I think it's SB 222, which was recently put forth, which to me makes absolutely no sense, because here we are trying to find ways to sue the oil industry for global climate change, to which that truly doesn't make much sense at all. One, the oil companies are drilling because of demand, and if demand is there, how is it their fault? And so I am for oil drilling. I'm for expanding if we could be environmentally friendly, to which I do believe the oil industry is trying to do a better job, especially with the carbon capture projects that were recently approved. And so I am for what works and what is the consumer demand. I think they should be the ones who truly set the environmental standards, not necessarily Sacramento. Again, we want to put the power here, because otherwise we're saying Sacramento knows best. I don't think that should be the case in all areas. And now for the last question on this too, I mean, we've recently seen that Border Patrol and ICE are conducting operations throughout the Central Valley. What have you seen from that? Is it a positive view that you have of these recent raids, or is it negative, or somewhere in between? And what do you think should be done going forward? So I look at the current situation very much like this. Many years ago, the Great Repatriation looked absolutely terrible in America. It's terrible in the books right now. I don't think it's a great look to do mass deportation raids. With that being said, immigration enforcement is a federal function, and we should allow federal functions to do their job accordingly. I don't believe that we should be hindering per se. However, there should be some level of coordination, specifically with those who have committed crimes and convicted. I think for me, that is one of the problems that I have with the current administration. We're talking about, for President Trump, who is allowing for people who have not been convicted yet to, be subject to these mass deportations. We are a nation of laws, and so you should have that due process before you start these national immigration raids. I think it looks very bad. Now, for those who have been convicted, those who have been, on the FBI list for human trafficking and violent crimes, you know what? I do believe that they are doing the right thing. I think it's a way that we're going about it. That's the problem, rather than the method. And I've even had some conversations with some of my neighbors. When we talk about those who are currently incarcerated, should we be talking with ICE and things of that nature? Certainly we should be. There should be those areas that we can have those levels of coordination so that ICE can do their job, our local community can do their job and maintain safety, yet not stoke the fires of fear. Because I think that is one of the biggest problems that these current raids, these mass deportation raids, the opening of Guantanamo Bay for immigrants, these mass deportation flights, I think that is what is going to be a huge problem, because now we have a lot of our community who aren't going to work, who are truly fearful of this. I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's right. And a lot of the people who are worried, those are the people who are truly some of the bedrock of our society. They're contributing every day, they're paying taxes, contributing into Social Security, despite the fact that they probably won't benefit from it when they get older. And so I think there is a better method of going about it. I don't like the look of it. I don't like the great repatriation. Again, didn't look great for us now. The process doesn't look great, but I understand that the federal government has a job to do. We should not hinder it. However, we should not be also using state resources to assist. That's a federal job. Allow them to do their job.
And now, the famous last question that, of course, everyone has to answer. It's an interesting drawn district. Goes through a couple different counties, and I know that people look different throughout the county, and people look different throughout the district, and there may be different issues that are tackled in the district. How do you go about, running and speaking with people in such a diverse area of land?
So for me, it's in addition to campaigning, I'm still working 70 hours a week. And so it's a matter of me taking my weekends, getting out, shaking hands, and really understanding. I mean, the needs in Visalia are different than the needs down here in Bakersfield. The needs here are different in Tehachapi, over in Kernville, to Ridgecrest, to Taft, to everywhere. Everything is a little bit different. And so for me, I think this is a fun opportunity to understand some of the challenges my neighbors have, especially when it terms of, the individual freedoms, our economic freedoms, of course, and to understanding where the government process is hindering your ability to grow. Where are those areas that we can understand that within Sacramento is going to allow us to, if we remove them, will allow us to be in a better space so that we can kind of navigate. So I think for me, it's really about getting out and knowing people, to understand the needs, the challenges, to understand that, hey, I'm putting my name out there as a libertarian. Yeah, I'm a little bit different, I have different views, but let's have fun in the process. Let's understand, where our challenges are, and let's try to make California, and especially the 32nd Assembly District, a better place for us.
Perfect. William Brown, thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.